Welcome back. There's a lot to know about how your life is going to unfold as a finder. Just as normal egoic consciousness has a certain developmental track that it proceeds down, so too does fundamental well-being. Very little study has been done about this outside of our research project, so there's not much information available about it. We created a special follow-up program called Thriving in Fundamental Well-Being to address that, and you can take it at a discount as someone who has taken this program. Some of the information that it contains is contained here in this program as well, but most of it isn't. You'll find more about how to get access to it below on this page. We also recommend that all finders take it, and also that you read our landmark book on this topic, The Finders, if you haven't already. It's written for finders to help them understand what fundamental well-being is really like to live from. There's a link to where you can get it on this page as well. In this video, I want to cover a couple of key things that you should keep in mind. The first is that ordinary egoic consciousness is primarily motivated by neuroses. When someone becomes a finder, their neuroticism drops considerably and their primary motivation switches to peace. We call this the primacy of peace. Rather than actions driven from fear, pain, and other negative psychological factors, a finder becomes driven by the desire to not disturb their peace, if at all possible. Now, as you might imagine, this has a lot of implications that we cover in the Thriving program, but we also just find that it's generally useful for all finders to know this about themselves. Even long-time finders can miss it. The second thing that's important to keep in mind is that there are cycles of development within fundamental well-being. When you first transition, the clock starts ticking on a very important initial 2-year cycle. During this cycle, a great deal of deconditioning and reconditioning takes place that sets the stage for the rest of your life as a finder. It's common for people to go through about a year where they feel like they have less motivation, for example. That's because their old neurotic drives are no longer motivating them, and it simply takes time for the brain to unwind a lot of their psychological programming around that and get a fresh start. Usually, starting about a year in, motivation begins to return, but with a very different underpinning. Rather than motivation that is rooted in fear, worry, and other negative emotions, it feels like a more natural and positive motivation, basically akin to finding one's life purpose and being naturally motivated towards action in the world from that. So, if you notice this happening as a result of your transition, don't worry about it. It's normal for many finders. However, it is an important process to keep an eye on. Your psychology will change a lot during these first 2 years of the de- and reconditioning process that occurs during them. If you let the process happen randomly, the result you get will be equally random. It could turn out great, it could turn out horrible, it could turn out somewhere in the middle. It's best to actively shape it to go in the direction you want. The Thriving in Fundamental Well-Being program helps you tackle that in detail, but it's also important to keep in mind as you go through this program. During the rest of the program, we'll deal a lot with the de- and reconditioning of your psychology. Food and eating is ideal to do this with because it touches so many aspects of your life. It provides you with an easy and simple way to get at a lot of your psychological triggers and programming. Just keep in mind as you work through it what direction you want that to head in so that you can shape it to be in the direction of your best life moving forward. We'll get into this more in the next series of videos. I'll see you there.